I say it is an imbalance between our three brains. We have an instinctual, we have an emotional, we have, let's say, an intellectual brain, a love brain, and an animal brain, which is a trieb, instinctual brain, like Freud said. And these three, like the proverbial sheep and the wolf and the intellectual. There's a story that Gurdjieff says you have to put together, you have to take from this side of the river to the other river a sheep and a wolf and a piece of cabbage. And it's a puzzle. How do you do it? Because if you leave the sheep and the wolf, one eats the other. If you leave the sheep and the cabbage, it eats. So how can you? So we have to put together these three. We have to. In all the outer instances of conflict, social conflict, racial conflict, cultural conflict, clash of civilizations, it's all projections of this fact that we have not become one inwardly. We are an embrace of father, mother, and child. The three brains are like father, like the normative brain is like the father, the love brain is like the mother, and the impulse brain is like the child. But they are not in a one embrace.
And what could be done, or what has to be done to achieve that? What role plays education, psychotherapy in that, religion or spirituality?
There are so many languages in which this can be said. The old Christian languages, redemption from sin, purification from sin. You have to. Or in the Buddhist language, you have to rid of the obstacles, the kleshas, the hindrances. Dalai Lama is calling them now the destructive emotions. It is as if we are prey of mental parasites, the parts of us that are not really us, that we are part of an ancestral survival mechanism. And to get rid of this part of us that is a false self, we need awareness. Only by waking up to what is not can we wake up to what is within ourselves. So there has been, from the beginnings of human life, a stream of know-how on waking up. The word Buddha means awakened. There has been, from very ancient times, the notion that the human condition and what is called the normal, the ordinary human condition, is something like being asleep and having nightmares and creating all kinds of false realities. But now it is like historical urgency that this becomes massive. It cannot be just a path for mystics, for a few people who swim against the stream and get personally free. Like if the species is going to survive, it needs to become more massive.
And how could that happen?
How can people wake up and be aware of how they are lost? How, like if somebody is
how they are lost and find home.
Let's say we are unfree, but we don't know that we are unfree. Ants probably think they are free. We don't know they are programmed. We have programmed ourselves psychologically. Or the ordinary human condition does not even strive for something. It may strive for bread, may strive for outer things, and may even have to compensate and over-strive for conquest and for glory and for very big things, but that is a substitute for striving for finding the lost inner nature. So it's very important that people first wake up the inner seeker, first wake up to the search, wake up to the inner emptiness, to the sense of inner emptiness. It's been happening culturally to some extent. Like Kierkegaard used to say that people don't have values any longer. At the maximum, there is aesthetic values, but mostly it's boredom. People in that age, Nietzsche was very aware of that too. There's not a heroic sense of life any longer like the classics. It's mostly triviality, banality. Life is banal, and people don't know it's become banal. And they seek entertainment and seek distraction or substitutes. So, how do people wake up to... Heidegger says it's very well, it's very complicated, but Heidegger says that in the search for being, the only way is to pay attention to the very uncomfortable fact that you don't have it. Like, if you look for being, you find nothingness. So we live with an inner nothingness, so it's as if it's not a very attractive proposition to say, look, happy man, you have to become unhappy first. You have to go into purgatory if you want to get to heaven eventually, or if you want to save yourself as a human species. You have to let go of some of this glitter, of the distractions. So inwardness. Everything in the culture militates against it. We get an education that is a conspiracy with the state. It's a conspiracy to distract people from themselves. You give them so many things to study, to learn. Geography, history, the science, all very interesting things. And mathematics, and everything seems perfectly justified. But nobody has time to just be, but to be with oneself. And the greatest educator of all times, I think, in our culture at least, was Socrates. His one message is, know yourself. Where is that in education? Self-knowledge. Even if we don't think that the aim of life is self-knowledge, if we don't go so far as agreeing with Socrates the aim of life, but at least we need it to become better people, to become who we are.
And the role of psychotherapy in that, or future psychotherapy, in waking up people to become searchers again and to look for this inwardness, what would you see there?
Psychotherapy is a rather mediocre science because it became something that is studied in universities. Anything that you can study and make a course for, and then pass exams, becomes spurious. Psychotherapy is like art. Either you are an artist because you have done it from your heart, but you cannot learn it superficially. You cannot do it according to how-to manuals. The kind of psychotherapy we have, massive psychotherapy, only few people really are psychotherapists. It's like a world of fake musicians who can program computers to do music or something like that, or they program one's own computer to do. It's not the same thing. So in that sense, I don't see that psychotherapy is necessarily so much better than friendship or human relations when they are real human relations. There's some kind of mystification of psychotherapy. I am, as you know, I carry a banner, a flag saying democratization of psychotherapy, saying people should learn to work on themselves and to assist each other. It should be a part of life to help oneself in the context of others, and that's what's part of my work. But psychotherapy as an institution, I don't value it so much. If you say the answer is psychotherapy, where do people go? It's a very few people who really are the real psychotherapists. Most people have the credentials, and most institutions are institutions to produce good credentials. And the more the institutions choose the way of being machines for accreditation, the more they become empty.
Yes. And can you say more about how you and your work do that to teach people how to assist one each other, how to help one each other, how to develop this capacity?
Well, my bet is that the capacity doesn't come from knowing techniques, it doesn't come from knowing ideas, all that is important, a perspective and techniques, but it cannot be a substitute for an inner condition. So the SAT program, which is my work, is a bet on training therapists by having them go through certain experiences that lead to self-understanding, because if you have self-understanding, then you have eyes to see the other. If you open your own capacity for empathy, if you care, because you have come to a certain level of mental health, that caring helps you do. That cannot be fabricated technically or mentally. So it's transformation. Personal transformation is the essence of psychotherapy, is the essence of religion, is the essence of art, is the essence of good parenthood, parenting, of being a useful person. So therapists should become perhaps something bigger than psychotherapy. You cannot separate, if you're talking about transformation, you cannot separate the psychological from the spiritual, you cannot separate what is therapy and what is art, what is the aspect of creativity, spontaneity, liberation. It's not a formula.